Hello! Today I'd like to share some tips for beginners in Fallout 76. These tips are intended to help new players familiarize themselves with the game and better enjoy their journey into Appalachia. The most important tip would be to treat the game as if you were playing Fallout 4. It's best to simply focus on doing quests while avoiding multiplayer events, until you've done the main quests at least. Maybe even the more significant side quests too. Many public events are the end quests for main and side quest chains, and you'll eventually have to do them. But if you do them before you finish those quest chains, then you'll end up spoiling the quest lines for yourself. Another reason is that many of these multiplayer events tend to give very powerful rewards that are easily better than those you get from quests. You can easily end up being disappointed by main quest rewards if you take part in too many public events. You can go back and do the quest lines after doing multiplayer events, but they do lose their charm, so it's best to avoid things like daily operations, public events, expeditions, etc. until you've done the main quests. Later on, these multiplayer events will be all that the game offers, and you will regret starting them too early. Remember that you only get to be a new player once. Take the time to explore and take in the stories in the game before you get into the multiplayer features. One additional tip is to enable pacifist mode after reaching level 5, because that will stop anybody doing PvP attacks against you and will prevent you from starting PvP by accident. You can unlock locations by just wandering around and spotting them on your compass. Then if you get close enough, that will put them on your map and unlock them for future fast travel. But in Fallout 76, you can also find watchtowers that will unlock locations around it by climbing to the top. These towers are usually defended by enemies, so be prepared to deal with some foes. But with a bit of care and stealth, you should be able to defeat enemies even at low levels. After you climb the towers, you'll see a number of new entries on the map. You will have to physically go to them to fully unlock them for fast travel, but your map will now show these locations. Joining a group will give you a stat bonus, depending on what type of group you join. It will take a bit of time for a bond to form with the group members, but after that, you'll get a bonus to your stats. The maximum is +3 if you're part of a 4-player group. Casual groups give you extra intelligence for extra experience points. Role-playing groups give you extra charisma for better sale prices and dialogue options. And exploration groups give you extra endurance for more hit points. Any other group, like daily operations and expeditions, are for multiplayer activities, so avoid joining them for the time being. They're intended for higher level players and group play. I know that I recommended that you play Fallout 76 as if it was a single player game, but groups are a bit of a grey area. Being a group member doesn't require you to do anything with any other player. You can simply join a group and go about your business as if you were playing a single player game, but with a few free stat points. So if you feel that the bonuses you get from groups are crossing a line into multiplayer, by all means feel free to ignore groups while you play. You can fast travel to any location you've unlocked by paying some caps. It can get pretty expensive to travel to a location on the other side of the map though, and early on caps can be scarce. But there's some locations that allow you to travel to them for free, regardless of where you travel from. The first one is your camp. You can always travel to your camp for free. This applies not only to your main camp, but also any inactive camps you might have. So it's possible to enable a camp just to fast travel to it, then deactivate it after you arrive. You can also travel for free to any camps that belong to your teammates. This also applies to any Fallout 1st survival tents that they may have set up around the map. Aside from camps, there's a few fixed locations that are free to fast travel to. Vault 76, where you start the game, is one of them. It allows you to travel to the forest area on the west side of the map. The Rusty Peak puts you in the ash heap to the south. To the north, the crater, which is a raider base, is located in the Toxic Valley. The Atlas Observatory is a good central location in the map, and is the main base of the Brotherhood of Steel. White Spring Resort and the Foundation give you ready access to the south of the map, and house the Responders and the Settlers respectively. You can use these locations as waypoints to make your fast travel cheaper. Traveling to these locations and then to your final destination will save you some caps. One caveat is that the faction headquarters require you to be on friendly terms with that faction, otherwise you might get attacked when you arrive. There's no default free fast travel locations to the east of the map though, so expect travel there to be relatively expensive. In my case, I have my alternate camp location in that area as a way to save caps if I need to travel there. Equipping the travel agent perk just before travel and unequipping it after arriving at your destination is another good way to save caps while fast traveling. Speaking of caps, early on caps can be difficult to come by. You can make caps by looting locations and selling weapons and junk, but for the least effort you can grow crops. Once you plant a crop, it'll provide you with a regular harvest. You don't have to water them or take care of them in any way, and as long as enemies don't shoot them, they'll keep giving you a regular harvest. When you first plant them, you'll need some seed and fertilizer. Flatwoods, the town where you first learn about the responders, has a number of crops available that you can harvest. Alternatively, most players have crops planted around their camps. Feel free to harvest some, no player will care. If you have any difficulty, feel free to come by my camp. I've got all the crops you can plant. It's located just north of the lake. For fertilizer, you can collect wild plants or meat and let them rot. Then at the chemistry bench, you can turn 10 rotten items into 1 fertilizer. Once you've got your own crops planted, you can just harvest and let vegetables rot for all the fertilizer you could possibly want. If you also equip the green thumb perk before harvesting, you'll double your harvest. You can use these crops for making soups and teas to keep yourself fed. They can supplement the pre-war food you find by scavenging or the meat from hunting wild animals. You can also cook corn, potatoes and mute fruit into vegetable starch for adhesive, which can be in short supply at times. Or you can sell the raw vegetables for caps at NPC vendors. Each one will sell for 1 cap, and if you plant enough, you can sell dozens every hour for easy caps. It's not the most profitable method for getting money, but it's an easy and reliable source of caps for very little work. Basically, you should plant some crops as soon as you've decided on a good site for your camp. Fallout 76 uses level scaling for enemies, so as you go up levels, enemies will also go up levels. That means they'll be tougher to kill as you play. You'll find weapons as you explore, and some quests will give you unique weapons that will help you keep up with enemy sponginess. But just as important as having a good weapon is, using damage perks to buff these weapons can be just as important. Typically you have 3 levels of damage buffing perks: Basic, Expert and Master. Each can be upgraded up to 3 tiers, and if you max them all out, you'll be spending 9 perk points for an extra 60% damage. But even getting 1 level of each perk will give you 30% extra damage while spending only 3 perk points. This is very good value for a few perk points, and I recommend that everybody get this at least. That 30% extra damage can be pretty significant, especially for weapons that do a lot of damage per shot, and especially if you get a stealth headshot. Inventory is the biggest difference between Fallout 76 and single player games. You have limitations to how much you can carry on your personal inventory, but you also have a limit to how much you can store in your stash. There's perks that allow you to reduce the weight of items, and pretty much everything can be sold to someone. This is a pretty lengthy topic, so if you want more information, feel free to look up my dedicated guide to managing inventory. I'll put a link to it in the description. But the most important thing to learn is to not be too greedy. Pretty much everything can be obtained again. Early on, radiation will be a pain. You won't have enough radaways to use willy-nilly, and it's not easy to access a rad scrubber. On top of that, any food you eat and any water you collect will give you rads. So it's very easy for rads to just stack up as you play. But one trick in the early game is to drink Brahmin milk. Each milk you drink will remove 25 rads. Typically each cooked dish you eat will give you no more than 5 rads, and collecting water will give you 5 rads. That means you can drink 1 Brahmin milk for every 5 times you eat or collect water, and you'll have 0 net rads. The best way to find Brahmins is at Flatwoods. There should be around 5 or 6 Brahmins between the buildings and the creek to the west of town. Not every Brahmin will provide milk, but you should get at least 3 or 4 each time you come by, and this is the easiest way to reduce rads early in the game. Later on, as you explore, you'll find more than enough radaways, especially if you also use the pharmacist perk to maximize the effect of radaways. But early on, keep in mind that you can drink Brahmin milk as a cheap and effective way to remove rads. Early on, your stats and your perk cards will be random, and it can easily seem like making the wrong choice will have permanent consequences. This is not the case. You can change your applied perk cards whenever you like. The only limitation is which ones you have available. Once you reach level 25, you'll be able to use punch cards at the train stations, or you camp if you built one, to freely change your special stats. After level 50, every level up will also allow you to pick a card. You still get the perk pack opening every 5 levels, but in addition to that, you can pick a perk of your choice when you level. So don't worry if it seems that you're not getting good cards from the pack openings, or if you think you've made a mistake in your build. Nothing is permanent. The game does not lock you into a build in any way, and after you reach level 50, you can tailor your build however you want. At the moment, my level 200 character has 45 saved up perk card choices that I just haven't had a need to use. There's more than enough chances to fix any mistakes you might think you've made early on. If you come from the single player games, you might feel like you need to avoid dying, but that's not the case. Dying is actually fine. The only penalty is that you drop your junk and it might get picked up by another player, but junk is always available, so it's not a big deal at all. You'll be able to revive at the same location for free, or another location for the cost of a fast travel. But typically, you can just revive at the same location and carry on with whatever quest you were doing. Enemies that you've damaged will still be damaged, and though some may have respawned, you'll be able to get back to the spot you were at without much trouble. Basically, this means that you shouldn't be afraid to explore higher level locations and take on tough enemies. At worst, you might have to fix your armor and your weapons, and maybe even get more ammo, but there's no permanent penalty to dying, so feel free to experiment and play around. It's very easy to scrap items by accident, and the game isn't going to stop you. So you might end up accidentally destroying the frame for your power armor, or scrapping that armor piece you've fully upgraded. To avoid that, one trick you can use is to rename the items. In my case, I prefix any items that I'm currently using or want to keep with an asterisk, so they always show up at the top of the list. That way I can avoid accidentally selling or scrapping them. You can rename items by going into the inspect view, then choosing the rename option. The default game does not offer much of a significant challenge. As we covered just then, even dying is not an issue. You can change builds without much hassle. Doing multiplayer events will make you overpowered very quickly. Personally, I would recommend playing with house rules. At the moment, I'm doing an Honest Abe challenge, where I play as Abraham Lincoln by dressing up in Civil War gear and only use black powder weapons. I also have rules against doing multiplayer events, and the run is permadeath. Basically, I wanted to use black powder weapons, because they're not something you'd use during normal gameplay. Compared to miniguns, flamers, automatic rifles, or chainsaws, the only reason you'd use some of the stranger weapons would be for meme purposes. So in this case, I made a new character to try them out, and I've accidentally discovered that thrown weapons are pretty powerful early on, and I'm really enjoying using black powder pistols. Later on, I'll probably start carrying Civil War era cannons too, for the memes of course. It's a suboptimal playstyle, and very different from what my main character does, but it's got an enjoyment of its own that I can't get from my overpowered main character. So if you find your main character becoming stale, try doing a challenge run with some house rules. It'll be different to say the least. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when new videos come out. See you soon.